Okay, first of all, I know the history behind the WNBA. I know that both of those cities have had teams before and they got us where we're at.
Sophie Cunningham is one of the WNBA players who show up, perform their duties, and then leave. Upon entering the most talked about section of the women's basketball team, a woman started knocking on people right away. Down, went viral overnight, and then sat down to reveal all of her secrets and discuss what it's like to play with the most divisive person on the planet. Athlete. What she said was not only unexpected, but it was also totally contradicted. The story that the majority of people had previously accepted. In order to comprehend the importance, all of this had to go back to January 31st, 2025. It was the day that Sophie Cunningham most likely never would have thought. She had worked hard during her 6 seasons with the Phoenix Mercury, establishing a strong reputation as a trustworthy guard with shooting prowess. Upon learning that she had been traded to the Indiana, the lights went out, and Fever, not just any team, showed no fear. More cameras are positioned around the Indiana Fever is home to Caitlin Clark, the most closely watched athlete in the controversy surrounding women's sports, who has received more national attention than any WNBA team in history. The agreement was also historic. The league was shocked by a huge 10-team deal. Cunningham was not welcomed to her new environment with compassion. She was left alone during a storm, and what transpired next revealed every aspect of her true personality is rarely discussed. Cunningham had a difficult childhood in Indiana. Her preseason ankle injury caused her debut to be postponed until May 22. She sustained another ankle injury a week later, which kept her out of action for an additional 2 weeks. She was playing for a new city, a new coach, and battling her body and finding her rhythm. A new system and new teammates. She struggled in the first few weeks because there was no momentum or synergy. This trade was extremely unlikely to succeed at all, but something broke right before. After being placed in the starting lineup, Cunningham not only regained her rhythm but also excelled. She averaged 11.2 points and shot more than 51% from the field in 13 games as a starter during the All-Star break. The Fever had found their enforcer, and she was just getting started. She was arguably the team's most productive member. Nothing in the 2025 WNBA season elicited a more direct response than what transpired in June 17th. Sheldon stabbed Sun guard J.C. Caitlin during the Fever's violent game against the Connecticut Sun. During the third quarter, Clark was struck in the eye by a play that usually results in a free throw and a shrug. But Sophie Cunningham wasn't shrugging. A quarter later, she grabbed Sheldon and pulled in front of everyone. Her to the ground. The instant she was taken away, the moment was lost, and social media collapsed overnight. In just a few hours, Cunningham amassed hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers. Her TikTok following increased from 300,000 to more than 1.2 million. She soon became well known outside of basketball. When she finally talked about, she was straightforward and stated that the league had fined her about $900. "I'm going to protect my teammates," she added. "That's what I do." She also said she had no regrets because it was more than just a video that went viral. Sophie Cunningham's whole public image was changed at the same time. What Cunningham soon disclosed. Following the launch of her podcast, Show Me Something, which she started with her early years, West Wilson. The fallout from the argument was made much more interesting by a friend and reality TV personality. She acknowledged something that had been without hesitation the subject of months' worth of rumors. The year Caitlin Clark was still a member of the Phoenix Mercury. Prior to her freshman year, there were actual discussions about how to deal with her in a locker room. She validated a lot of people's opinions, but no one wanted to express them. According to Cunningham, players. Clark was specifically targeted by the league to convey a message and demonstrate to her the true meaning of the W. That's how rookies are treated, but with Clark in particular, she claimed to have only a partial understanding of it. Cunningham said, "I'm like, what are people doing?" It had gone to FAR.as a team member. After witnessing it, she said, "It's just too much. I'm over it. If I feel like it's too much, it's definitely too much." Cord. This was an admission, not a commonly held belief. Fans were captivated by Cunningham's ongoing discoveries on the podcast, which developed into a music platform. She confronted doubters. Caitlin Clark's negligent speech and lack of hedging in one episode demonstrated her influence on the league. If you don't think Caitlin Clark is the face of the WNBA, or if you think the league wouldn't be around today without her, you're just plain wrong. This is as close to what she said as possible. She clarified that she wasn't criticizing other league players. Although she respected everyone, she was unable to comprehend that it was difficult to ignore the denial of Clark's role in the growth of women's basketball. The candor with which she stated it. Hearing it from a seasoned insider was noteworthy. Await a league that has been engaged in a continuous, complex internal debate regarding Clark's stance, reception, and the response from the internet. Was precisely what you would anticipate. The video went viral once more. The tone of the story was then drastically changed after Sophie Cunningham exposed a gap. In addition to the altercations, podcasts, and viral incidents, when she volunteered to assist at the annual Aaron Nesmith charity dinner in November, she changed. She was completely mic'd up and gave meals to local families. Statements were captured on camera. "This is what we're here for, we're here for you," she added, turning to address a crowded throng. Her one-year contract with the Fever had already expired, so this is the portion that really resonated with her. She just showed there, rolled up her sleeves, and didn't have to be there or get paid, and began serving. Fans of Fever went crazy. The moment's footage became viral as rapidly as the J.C. Sheldon clashes. Comment after comment encouraged the team to sign her for life. Even people who had never watched a WNBA game started to pay attention. Sophie Cunningham, a farm girl from Columbia, Missouri, ties everything of her identity to this other half. To a diligent and religious upbringing, she then started talking about Caitlin Clark's extracurricular pursuits. And almost everyone was shocked by what she stated. People had given the idea that Clark was practically untouchable. A composed, polished superstar athlete who navigates life with ease. Cunningham completely ruined that perception. When she appeared on the Like a Farmer podcast, she was asked about her favorite Clark story. Her answer was so direct that it felt like she was divulging a secret. She said that Clark is merely a typical person who actually loves basketball. Then she called her a huge old dork. When you first meet someone who attracts a lot of attention, you have no idea what to anticipate. You get ready, she said. Instead, she found someone who was sincere, humble, and completely foolish. She claimed to like Clark's entire aura and to be the biggest nerd you'll ever meet. That description seemed to be the most compassionate statement ever made about Clark to millions of people who only see her via highlights, press conferences, and sponsorship deals. The two of them's off-court connection evolved into its own story when asked whose teammate she would least trust. Caitlin Clark to handle her social media accounts. This is because Cunningham lovingly characterized Clark as a starter, implying that she would start a drama, publish something, and take a look at the chaos. This was absolutely consistent with the way these two interact on social media. Their followers love their regular, playful taunts, inside jokes, and mutual teasing, making the jest that they were. Indiana Fever mermaids traveling to In August, Cunningham posted a video of himself and co-worker Lexi Hull in a swimsuit on Twitter as a recruitment tool. Drive for bikini sponsors eventually. Cunningham's podcast learned about Clark as well. By these two's criteria, when a fan asked for a Clark appearance, the Show Me Something accounts public reaction was only soon. Beneath all of this delight, however, was a season that went horribly. Caitlin Clark only participated because the Fever had turned into an almost unimaginable injury catastrophe by August. Of a bone bruise, quad pain, and groin injury. During the season's 13 games, Cunningham and Clark were two of the 5 players who were ultimately declared out for the season. The crew was severely understaffed at one point. That they were eligible for an exception due to an emergency. Before August 17, when Connecticut Sun guard Brianne Cunningham was playing MCL when January fell into her leg and tore it. Surgery was then performed. The season is over. The woman who battled her way into the starting lineup scored before the playoffs even began. More than 11 points per game and evolved into one of the team's most beloved figures. She watched the eventual champion from the bench. The Las Vegas Aces were forced to play against a completely destroyed Fever team. 5 games in the playoffs. Cunningham must have found it terrible to watch everything happen, but that team's perseverance was incredible. Without her, the postseason activities were almost as exciting as the actual season. Cunningham's 1 year, she became an unrestricted free agent in a league where nothing was assured once her $100,000 contract ended. The Players Association and the WNBA have hit a deadlock in their CBA negotiations. Furthermore, nobody was aware of the forthcoming season's compensation structure or the official start date of free agency. She joined Project B, a brand new international 5, with the promise of nearly $2 million a year. On 5 touring league, roughly 8 times the WNBA's maximum salary at the time. She also began to expand her media presence in a way that demonstrated her ability to think beyond basketball, the social media brand, the podcast, and the sponsorship agreements. She was using the reputation she had built during a single event to launch a full-fledged public career. Season in Indiana. She repeatedly expressed her desire to return to the Fever and play throughout. With Clark Once more, the CBA was finally resolved in the middle of March 2026. Oh, and her future in Indianapolis was finally available when free agency started. By the end of 2025, the data revealed that no. Google's annual search rankings dropped, as was predicted at the beginning of the year, and Sophie Cunningham came in. Caitlin was not listed at number 7 on the list of American athletes who are most often searched. When this was brought up, Cunningham had effectively replaced Clark, who had held the same position in 2024. She responds to her podcast in the same straightforward, non-performative manner that she does nearly everything. She attempted to immediately explain Clark's absence, stating that she wasn't sure how she felt about it. She pointed out that Clark had only played in 13 games this season, but she also talked about how wonderful it was to be the only female player in the top 10. She was thinking about her colleague rather than bragging or focusing on herself. More than anything, she said. That revealed Sophie Cunningham's true nature off camera. This is the current state of affairs. The 2026 WNBA season is scheduled to begin on May 8 if the new CBA holds together after winning the MVP award and leading Team USA in every significant statistical category. Caitlin Clark is in great health for the FIBA Women's World Cup qualification. The Fever are getting ready for what should be their healthiest and most formidable roster. Furthermore, the woman who arrived in Indianapolis as a trade piece, Sophie Cunningham, turned into an enforcer, went viral, became well known among music lovers, and suffered an injury. During her recuperation, she created a media empire and never stopped speaking her mind. She is currently awaiting the opportunity to rejoin the group that changed her life. The organization is under constant pressure from fans to bring her back. According to reports, Clark expressed her opinions about the situation to the front desk. Consequently, 2 new teams, Portland and Toronto, will join the league of the expansion draft and the upcoming year. One of the most anticipated tales in women's basketball history is the Fever's roster selections. One thing is clear, regardless of what occurs next, Sophie Cunningham entered a room full with expectations. Challenged them all and came out stronger. She showed up without a contract to serve meals to strangers or accountability, told the truth when no one asked, and defended her teammate when no one else would. People can't stop watching because it's a human rather than a brand. Some WNBA players arrive, carry out their responsibilities, and then depart. Sophie Cunningham, a woman who entered the most talked about women's basketball team, immediately began knocking people down, went viral overnight, and then took a seat to divulge all the information she had been holding to herself concerning its true nature. Desire to play with the world's most contentious player. What she shared wasn't merely unexpected, it utterly appended the story that most people had previously come to accept. You have to go back to January 31, 2025, the day Sophie Cunningham's life changed in a way she probably never expected, in order to understand why she was known for being a tough, trustworthy guard who could blast out lights without fear of anything. During her 6 seasons of arduous work with the Phoenix Mercury, later, it was discovered that she had been traded to the Indiana Fever. Not just any team, but Caitlin Clark's home team, the most closely watched athlete in women's sports, receiving more national attention, cameras, and controversy than any WNBA club in history. The industry was also historic. With 10 teams involved, that rocked the league. Cunningham was not introduced to her new surroundings in a gentle manner. In the thick of the tempest, she was dropped, and the events that followed revealed every facet of her actual character that practically everyone talks about. Cunningham had a tough beginning in Indiana. Her debut was postponed until May 22 due to an ankle ailment she suffered during the preseason. A week later, she had another ankle injury that prevented her from playing for 2 more weeks. While playing for a new city, she was battling her body and attempting to develop a rhythm. She struggled in those first few weeks with a new coach, a new system, and new teammates. There was a lack of chemistry. Please leave your opinions in the comment area, subscribe, and enable all notifications so you don't miss anything after you click the video on the screen. I'll see you in the next one.